Welcome to the Wingmen Show. Welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. We are floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots. Rumble. And that second badass jet pilot, my man, my wingman, my friend, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul, today?
Well, Mr. Drew, it's good to see you. We're going to have a good show today. It's going to be a good day. It's a good day all around. I've got some good feelings about today.
Good. I got a good quote for today. All things are difficult before they are easy. And isn't that true? All things are difficult before they are easy. And that's by Thomas Fuller. And you know what? That works out to our first story, Deion Sanders. He is overtaking the media by storm. He's like the new Muhammad Ali. He's just killing them. But Dr. Paul, tell me what you think about Deion Sanders, because he's done a lot of good for a lot of people lately.
Yeah. Basically, he's a force. I say a force unto himself. The reality is everybody has a team behind him. A lot of times, the things you don't see in the background, but obviously he's the orchestra director of the whole team. Yeah, it's amazing. You got to realize some people don't follow sports. Deion Sanders distinguished himself in football and baseball, being in Super Bowls and World Series, sometimes, playing both sports at the same time at an extremely high level. That's highly unusual. Realize, he's in his late 50s now, and his big playing days are over. But lately, he's almost just more famous than when he was playing, because now he's really a one-man market. Well, I say one man in the front, but he's a marketing machine for whatever he's directed his attention to. And the eyes of the world are on him. You can see stories about him in international publications now. They may not know what football is, but I've seen them. But he has that impact. Basically, any information on him is good information in terms of extending a brand and extending his influence. Probably making a lot of people jealous and a lot of others nervous.
You know what Ali did? He took a note out of the P.T. Barnum playbook, and either they're going to pay to see you win or pay to see you lose. But baby, they're going to pay. And that's what Muhammad Ali did. Now, I grew up with Ali, so I was really close to greatness. Deion Sanders, the reason he is so big, first of all, not only because he's neon Deion and he's flashy and he wears gold and he's an hip-hop idol, actually, but he's super, super talented. He did play baseball. He did play football at the same time. And when he played football, he played offense and defense. So what I want to say is that you can be a marketing and you can use your mouth, but you better be good. And Deion Sanders is good. And what I really liked about him is he went to an HBCU, a historically Black college, Jackson State, and they won that conference with his first year of being there. And to me, that's going to bring a lot of attention to these HBCUs. And that's all they need to do is win championships, and they'll blow up like Alabama. They'll be just as big if they win these championships. But Deion did something in college football at Colorado that just has been allowed, and he's taken it to a new level. He uses a transfer portal. In other words, if you're not playing on your team and you don't like being on your team now in college, you can put your name in a transfer portal and you can automatically transfer to another college. He had the Colorado football team. He cut 83 players. And he got in 83 new players, including his sons and the quarterback. His son is super, super bad. But he's using a system. And now, guess what I just saw, Dr. Paul? Deion and his son on a KFC commercial already, because college ball players can now get paid a likeness. This Deion Sanders, everybody needs to know he was super bad as an athlete, and it looks like he's going to be super duper bad as a coach. Don't you think, Doc?
Yeah, I do. And I wonder if I noted we saw that chicken commercial 3 days ago. Also, it's like, wow, he's doing everything. My mother always remembered him. I guess winning one of the World Series, he poured a big thing of Gatorade on sports announcer named Tim McCarver, I think, who was a big time player himself. I guess he had said some not so nice things about him, and he comes and says, "Where's McCarver? Where's McCarver?" He dumps this big Gatorade thing on live TV, which is he had quite a few antics. I wonder if his teammates, if his students on his team can do as much as he did. Probably not, I'm guessing. But I remember that.
His son might. His son's that good.
Yeah. Okay.
His son is really that good. I'll tell you something else about Deion Sanders. He took something, maybe he read a book, You Gotta Believe. I had a selling book called You Gotta Believe. Well, his big words now are, you have an autograph copy?
Yeah, I have an autograph copy.
His big words now, do you believe? Do you believe? He uses that. So I gotta believe, and he says, do you believe? Well, Dr. Paul, the media always says if it bleeds, it leads. Well, we at the Wingmen Show, we have a saying, and we say, if it's good, it should. And how about some good news? How about people listening to some good news? And how about this? Cancer rates have fallen by a third since 1991. 70% of the children who get cancer now live. 70%. And that is an incredible number. So cancer it's becoming beatable. And, just this year alone, they have 14 new drugs for the FDA to approve. And they got 12 more sitting in the back. So they're really coming up on this cancer research. God bless it. It saved 3.8 million deaths, Dr. Paul, since 1991. Now that's some good news.
Yeah, and there's even something called CART therapy, CART. I forget what it all stands for, but that's another breakthrough in cancer treatment. Again, more targeted. Instead of using chemotherapy and really shocking the whole body, they're now able to input drugs into the system that really help the immune system target the cancer cells and not destroy the good cells around, so that you have fewer after effects. It's most distressing to see this. It's hardest to see in anybody, but particularly young children. I'm always amazed at the number of infants and 2- and 3-year-olds who are diagnosed with some kind of cancer. And saying, "What are you talking about?" But this is happening. You talk about the percentages. I think that's kind of general. I was told by a medical director some years ago that leukemia, childhood leukemia, it used to have a 5% survival rate in the 1950s. And today it's over 95% in childhood leukemia, just through the advent of new drugs. Unfortunately, the war on cancer. I remember President Nixon declared a war on cancer during a State of the Union in 1971. Called it a war on cancer, and I think President Biden used the term moonshot. But that's really just an advent of what Nixon was talking about in 71. Because his talk was then, if we can put somebody on the moon, we can defeat cancer. This is 2 years after Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were on the moon. But, we're still talking about it today. This cancer's mutating, there are new kinds of cancers. Some cancers are increasing, unfortunately. A lot of them are related to obesity, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, other things. So this fitness and weight and diet still play a part, whether you get miracle drugs or not. Sometimes the miracle might be taking better care of yourself.
Oh, 100%. It's what you put in your mouth, and that's what causes all these cancers. It's the environment and things that you have inside your body. So the purer you can be with eating and drinking water and doing those things, the better chance you have. Well, everybody, welcome to the Wingmen Show. Thank you so much, all of our frequent flyers, all of our frequent flyers, and that's the people who listen to us every week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. iHeartRadio. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place. Write us a little review on Apple Podcasts. We surely would appreciate that. And we have a newsletter at wingmenshow.com. Wingmenshow.com. I'll put it up on the screen. But we have a newsletter, and it gives you the gouge. And what's the gouge in the Navy? The gouge is like insider information. And we give little bits of information on how to become a pilot, how to go to college, how to parents, all kind of information on gouge. So hit us up, wingmenshow.com. So how about this gouge, Dr. Paul? What about the 7 great walks? You ready for this? The 7 great walks in 7 great cities. We've been to some of these cities, Dr. Paul, and the first great walk, and it's people who like to walk and look, hey, travel the world and see some of these places. One is Paris. They have beautiful gardens, greeneries, flower shops. People love to walk around in Paris. And there's a nice little tour that takes about 3 miles that takes you around the Eiffel Tower, and you get to see all these gardens. You've been there, Dr. Paul. What do we think about Paris?
Oh, Paris is great. I've never been on a formal walking tour, but I've done my own tours. I've even gotten lost. Paris is a great walking city. I mean, at times I've gone at least 8-9 miles sometimes a day, just casually, killing time. It's very walkable, very pretty. I passed lots of gardens. I've been in a good number of museums. I can only do museums with so much. The Louvre I've done a number of times. It's very nice. That's worth seeing. It's hard to do in one time, but everything is just so walkable. Even around the Louvre itself, it's a vast area outside of the museum. In fact, that was a major running path for me. You could run miles and miles just on the outside, and along the river, the Seine River, cuts you right through the city. So basically, the whole thing is a walking and runner's paradise.
It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place to be. And don't you remember, we've been there many times, Dr. Paul, but especially our big weekend, you with the captain, Keith Miller, and myself with your first officers, and we flew to Paris for a 4-day weekend on a 777. The American dream was alive and well. The second great city, I have never been here, but maybe you know something about it, Zadar in Croatia. In Croatia, they say it's a beautiful historic walk. And that's like a 3-mile walk in Zadar, Croatia. Have you ever been there?
Never been there, but I'd seen it advertised on like CNN, the travel section, the travel part of it. Just a commercial they'd have for it, and it was usually a scene of a harbor and some ships, and looked like a pleasant seaside community.
Yeah, there's supposed to be beautiful beaches, and it's supposed to be like a secret because the prices haven't hit it yet. But a lot of people going to Croatia. It's beautiful on the Mediterranean. The third place is Marrakesh in Morocco. They had a horrible earthquake. I do want to say prayers, Dr. Paul, and I pray for all those families who lost lives and everything in Morocco. The next one in there, Seoul, Korea. And it's the 12-mile walk along the fortress wall. Now, I haven't done the whole wall, but I've seen it. And Seoul, Korea is another good place to walk around and see new things.
Yeah, Seoul's pretty good. And
Paul?
where we used to lay over, it was very, very hilly. So I would walk down to Itaewon a number of times. It's not very far, but it's a pretty good, easy going down, more challenging coming up. But a very good workout after you've eaten. Yeah, that was cool. Again, the other part of Korea I've been to the DMZ. No, I did not defect into North Korea, but I've been around there, and that's a nice walk too. Just as long as you stay in the area that your guides allow you to walk in.
Thinking about this, Dr. Paul, where's our boy King, who North Korea, I haven't heard one word about him. Not one single word. I wonder if he's become a North Korean citizen by now.
Yeah, well, I think there's two possibilities. Either he's being treated like a king or not. But it's pretty quiet. It could be either. It could be either way for propaganda purposes. He might be treated very well, or he may be treated not so well. We'll see.
I wonder if they gave Dennis Rodman a call to come get him. The next one, Dr. Paul, I've been to Australia. I love it, but they say Sydney, sea, bushland, the city views, walking around Australia is wonderful. They even have graffiti parts of the town that is like an art museum in the streets. I love Australia, don't you?
Yeah, I've never seen the graffiti section, but I've walked around there quite a bit. The city, it's a very very walkable place, and I spent a fair amount of time in an area called Bondi Beach, which was very nice, and I walked a lot of that too. Very very beautiful, very beautiful.
Very beautiful. The next one is St. Louis, believe it or not, and they have something called the New African American Trail. And, I always say, I wonder if Black people are out on there because I don't know that we know what we call each other, Negro, colored, Black, Afro-American, African-American. It's very confusing. I'm a Black man and I'm proud of it. But anyway, in St. Louis, this New African American Trail actually goes back in history and connects some of the Black neighborhoods together. And it's a beautiful walk. It's going to be like 10 miles long when it's finished.
Really? I've never heard of that before. But I'd run in St. Louis along the river a number of times. Very nice run when the weather's nice. And one strange thing, sometimes life doesn't throw you curveballs, but throws you strange opportunities. I remember one time running down the riverbanks with tourists, and I actually came across somebody that I knew in flight training decades before, and we passed each other. I ran took about 10 steps. I said, "Is that who I think it is?" And we actually both turned around at the same time, and hadn't seen each other at that time probably for 15 years or so, but she was actually from St. Louis. And I remember that. So you never know.
It's a small world out there. It's a small world. The last place of our 7 great cities is Rio de Janeiro. And I'll tell you something, walking along Copacabana Beach is one of the greatest things you can do in your life. Rio de Janeiro is some kind of place. And, they also it's connected to the Ipanema Beach. The girl from Ipanema, what a famous song that is. But you're talking about a place that I love. I love Brazil. And for all the men, if you're not married and you're looking to pick up a pretty girl, I have to say this, it's the prettiest women I've ever seen are in Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil's a unique place. On the beach, my problem with Rio was I was never there long enough. I always said I was too junior. I just had like short layovers. I was in the jungles of Brazil for long periods of time. That was fine too. Actually, I liked that too. But I wanted to spend more time in Rio. But most of the time, they're no more than 24 hours. So you're resting some of that time. I never got the 2 and 3 day layovers, which would have been, very, very nice.
Well, next time you go, you can go on a vacation and just stay there. You and Kim can have some fun in Rio de Janeiro. All right, Dr. Paul, that brings us to one of my favorite parts, and that's a Wingmen PSA from the 11 facts in life. From fact number 2, live your life to the fullest. The goal is a long, happy, and healthy life. Let me say that again. Live your life to the fullest. The goal is a long, happy, and healthy life. Dr. Paul, that's about it in a nutshell. That's what it's all about. Life is good. And so what you want to do is keep going as long as you can. And the only way you can be happy is to be healthy. So if you're healthy, you're taking care of yourself, life is great.
Yeah, I agree. And that, your attitude determines your altitude, as they used to say. And what you said is important. And it's good to feel good inside and not just dwell on your problems or challenges of the day. Everybody has challenges. Everyone has difficulties. But a lot of things are a state of mind. And sometimes you need to kind of shock yourself into the reality that you have more control than you realize. You can make yourself, well, we already established you can make yourself sick. You can make yourself sick. And maybe you can make yourself well too. So try to think about that when you get up in the morning. I'm going to make this a good day. Even if it doesn't look good. You don't know if it doesn't look good. You wake up with that, that's you. Try the opposite attitude.
Somebody told me, Doctor, if your day goes, there's nothing wrong with starting it over. You can always start over your day because it's your day. Well, we have a frequent flow line. You never heard that before, huh?
No, never heard that.
Good. We learn something every day on the show. We learn something every day on the Wingman Show. That's wonderful, Dr. Paul. All right. So the frequent flow line, we have people out there who want to ask questions, and we got a question. And remember, the newsletter you can get, and you can write us at wingmenshow.com. Wingmenshow.com. Here is the frequent flow line. A 41-year-old woman from Foxborough, Massachusetts. She's asking Dr. Paul in this. My 16-year-old son is starting to drink, starting to smoke, and he's headed in the wrong direction. What should I do? Well, Dr. Paul, I'll throw this one to you first.
Okay. Well, two possibilities. Well, she said he started to. Well, it's not good, but it's better than if he'd been doing it for a long time. You're at the point now where getting, an intervention and therapy is more likely to give you a better result than if he'd been, say, doing it for 5 years or longer. So I'm assuming she's right in her time frame. I guess the biggest thing is to get him some help. He's got to want to make this change. He also has to consider he's suddenly starting to do these things. What might be influencing to do that? Is there something else that's bothering him? Some other influences that you can get him away from or redirect him or direct him into something more positive. Who is he hanging around? Where are they going? Where are those kids going? There are limitations, but you have to look at doing something and not just doing nothing and saying, oh, woe is me. Try to make a change. Things are expensive, but we talked earlier online, there are some online things that are either inexpensive or free. So exhaust, all your possibilities, see what's around.
Most of this has to do with peer pressure. And depending on who he's hanging around, there's a saying, if you hang around 4 ignorant, broke people, you're going to be the 5th ignorant, broke person. So, that's what you first need to find out. Who are his friends? Who are his influences? And try to maybe move him from that situation. Another thing is find a purpose for him. Find a reason for him not to want to go the wrong way. I've said this a long time. Everybody is LeBron James. Everybody's Michael Jordan, but just not in basketball. Everybody has a skill. And that's why we want people to go to college and expand their minds so they can find that skill. If we could find this young man purpose and get him on a new track to doing something he enjoys, he will police himself and he'll know that these people are not going in the same direction that I'm going. So I know this is hard, and especially if you're a single mom. What you have to do is show love. What you have to do is be involved. And, be straight up, go to the school, talk, find out, but talk to your son, because communication is the best thing you can do as a parent. Don't you agree, Dr. Paul?
I agree. That's very good advice too. Go to the school and look outside of the school. Again, you said single mom. It's likely that's the case. You can have problem 2-parent families too, certainly, but it's a little harder for I think a single woman raising a teenage son, period, let alone having great difficulties. So you might need some, I'll just say, look for, a positive male role model of some type. It could be in anything. It might be religious. It might be in martial arts. It could be different things. Everybody's not a great football player, a great athlete. But like you said, it might be in music, it might be in some other kind of expression to give him some balance, a little more balance, not just going on to the I'd say the lower things in life that are common or stereotypical, or there are a lot of people who are really, really, hurting these days. And a lot of people are not. You need to be around some folks who are going somewhere.
There's this gentleman who came from Brazil, Gabriel Fatoza. He came to America with 2 pairs of scissors and a set of clippers. He now makes $1.3 million a year doing dog grooming. It's a $13 billion industry. But why I'm talking about him is he's doing so well, but he found a niche. He found a certain way to do dog grooming. He makes dogs into lions, and he puts dye in their hair, and he makes them giraffes. And, he really does a little bit extra to people's dogs. This is how somebody could take their art, their skill, and actually turn it into the American dream. This guy came from Brazil with nothing, and now he's doing very good in this country because he has a skill and he knew how to use it, and he found that niche, that little speck that needed to be filled, and that's what he's doing, and he's doing very well, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, and he's basically, he's an employer now. So I think he started by working with somebody in the San Francisco Bay Area, a lady. And she, I guess when the pandemic hit, she basically wanted to get out of the business, and he took a little loan, and he kind of bought her out for not a lot of money, and then just redesigned the whole business and made it into a multi-million-dollar operation, which it wasn't. So he's now an employer. He employs a bunch of people. He's not doing all that work. He's bringing it in. That's not his net, but he's invented himself.
Incredible. The name of our show is The Wingmen Show. And Dr. Paul, do you have a wingman this time? These are people who might have lost the race, but they won the big one in life. Why don't you tell us about wingmen? It's a great story.
Yeah, this is a story. It's a wingman. This is really 2 wingmen. 2 wingmen helping out a third person. We're talking about Cooper Erickson and Ethan Olds. Cooper Erickson and Ethan Olds of Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And in short, it's an unusual show of good sportsmanship. They were all involved in a cross-country race. They were running cross-country, Cooper and Ethan. And they're getting near the end of the race. And Cooper and Ethan are in like the second and fourth place. Yeah, second and fourth place. Anyway, there's a guy ahead of them. And they notice that he's falling. He collapsed, and he collapses really just a few feet before the finish line. And they both stop to help him, pick him up, and bring him over the finish line, such that the guy comes in second and they come in third and fourth. And it was a competitive race. And this guy they didn't know him. He went to a different school, but they both decided to show sportsmanship and help this person. They asked him why. And they said, well, in our sport and what we do, everybody puts out 100%. And if you give max effort, you should be recognized for it. So on their own, they picked him up and they took third and fourth place, and that was okay with them. And the guy, they said after he got over, he didn't collapse again, but he had to sit down again. He was really winded, but he thanked them. And later on, he thanked them by social media. So that's very unusual. We talked earlier in a broadcast ago, or a couple of shows ago, about the 2 young women that split a gold medal in pole vaulting. Well, here, this is more of an extreme case where they could have easily just let him lay down there and finished ahead of him, obviously. But they picked him up and moved him such that this young man that had fallen would actually finish the race technically before they did, and they took third and fourth place.
That's a wonderful story. And that runner's name was Jamie Reeves. That the guy that they helped was Jamie Reeves. And good sportsmanship is so important. I've coached my kids. I've been a coach for a while. I'm sure you've coached, Dr. Paul. I always taught good sportsmanship. Well, Dr. Paul, anything that's beautiful, anything that's meaningful, and anything that you think is important and it makes you happy, may you and all of our listeners have that today and forever. I pray for peace, Dr. Paul.
I pray for peace too, and we appreciate all those who listen, like, and share our message. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, helps the algorithm, and subscribe to the channel, and click the notification icon. Click the notification icon. That way you'll get an alert every time we put out a new episode.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.